All right, hey there, guys. I said I would do an Ask Me Anything on my Facebook tonight and with video, so I'm going to do that right now. Taking questions that you guys have put in there. There's already like 120 questions in about 5 minutes went up. So I'm just going to go through as many as I can, okay? Don't expect long, exhaustive answers. I'm going to answer quick. If you ask me a question in here that's kind of like, what do you think is the problem and how can peace be brought to the Middle East? I might just say, guys, too long of an answer and move on to the next question. All right, by the way, let's see here. I'm going to try to go to the first set. Okay, Kevin Peterson, good place to play poker in L.A. I like the Bicycle Casino is my favorite. There's Hustler Casino. There's the Commerce Casino as well. A few good places, Paula, Pachanga, but my favorite is the Bike. Corian writes, what's your favorite horror movie of all time? That's American Werewolf in London. Chase Norrie, how did you get involved in the business? Like, what did you go to school for? I actually went to school for law, but I started movie blogging when I was a lot younger. I started movie blogging. I actually started a website called moviereviews.net in like 2000, I think. And I started writing reviews. I let that go. Then later in 2003, I started the movie blog. I grew the movie blog to the point that I had like 1 million readers a month. And then that got successful. I won a couple of awards for podcasting. Then AMC came to me and asked me to start up their online movie stuff. So I started that there, grew that. Now I'm at Collider, and that's how I got started. Basically, I built my own thing is how I got started. Let's see. River writes, was there one country you could live in? Was one country you could live in? What would it be and why? Can't be Canada. Probably Italy because I'm Italian. What is your favorite Christmas movie to watch? Probably It's a Wonderful Life. The Wonderful Life is my favorite one. Scott Jones writes, what's your favorite ride at Disneyland? Easy. That's the Indiana Jones ride. All-time favorite ride at Disneyland is the Indiana Jones ride. Greg Scott writes, any plans to do an updated online film and suggestions video with Johns and others again? Maybe. Haven't really thought about it. Might do it maybe around the summer of 2017. Keep your eyes open for that. Lucian writes, do you think there will ever be... an Avatar sequel ever be released? Yes, it will. I just don't think it's going to be anytime soon. Dominic writes, what is your favorite quote from a book or movie? I don't know. I'd have to think about that. Would you ever move back to Canada? Chris Manley writes, would you ever move back to Canada, or is LA your place for life? No, I'm moving back to Canada. I've already been in LA much longer than I thought I would be, but I'm eventually moving back to Canada. Now, that's not going to be this year. It's probably not going to be next year either, but at some point, I am moving back to Canada. Before Anne and I got married, it's like, at some point I'm going to want to move us back to Canada, and she was cool with that. So, yeah, definitely at some point I am going home. Like I said, it's not going to be 2017, maybe 2018, I don't know, but I am going to go home soon. As a Canadian, Canadian, right? Where is it? There, my jersey. That's home. That's where my family is, and ultimately that's probably where when Ann and I decide to have kids, that's where I'm going to want to raise my kids. So, yes, definitely moving back to Canada at some point. Justin Sim, how did you and Ann meet? It was actually, do any of you guys watch, if you saw Heroes, you remember Peter Petrelli on Heroes. That's played by the actor Milo Ventimiglia, and he's now in that big hit show, This Is Us. Milo's a friend of mine, and I was throwing a party for a movie he was in. He invited some people. Anne was one of those people, and I met Anne at that party, and that's how Anne and I met, was because of Milo Ventimiglia and my buddies Mark and Brian, who are the producers and writers of that movie. So it's because of Milo and Mark and Brian that I met Anne. That's how we met. And I always tell Milo, I'm always indebted to you, dude, because of you I met the love of my life. So there you go. That was from Justin Sim. Nick Reeves writes, do you think Maz Kanata will be in the Han Solo movie? I have very little doubt she'll be in it. It's probably not going to be a big presence, but she will. I have very little doubt she'll be in the movie. Will we ever see Collider UFC? I'm going to limit and say yes. I will tell you this, though. There's no firm plans right now for that, but I'll be shocked with how involved I am with MMA, and Dennis is a huge MMA fan. I think at some point, somewhere down the line, there will be some form of a UFC show. So keep your eyes open for that. Let's see. Luke Whitmer writes, your dream MCU film, Avengers, and we have it. So there we go. Let's see. Dalton Ham says, your favorite pro wrestler. I don't know, man. It depends on the era. I was a big fan of Tito Santana. I was a big fan of JYD. Obviously, Macho Man's a big favorite. Get into more modern eras. The Rock, Undertaker, Triple H. I've always been a big Triple H fan, so those are some of my favorites. Jason Ritter, if Lego Batman does do well, do you think we might see a Lego Superman or Flash movie? No, I don't think we will. Michael K, what is the Campea family dish on Christmas? I'm Italian, it's lasagna. My grandmother's lasagna, and it's the best ever. What has been the worst movie of the year? Light Between Oceans is pretty awful. I know some people think that movie's great, and I don't. To me, it's one of the worst put together movies I've seen in a long time. I'd have to think about it because maybe I can come up with a few other worse ones. But Light Between Oceans to me was atrocious. I hated that movie. Joe Mencina, what would be your last meal? My grandmother's lasagna. Thank you for asking. Tom Gillard, you said you've taken on more leadership at Collider now. What does that involve working alongside Dennis and Christian? And will we see Robert Burnett on Movie Talk? Robert Burnett will probably pop up on Movie Talk at some point. My new role here, I've had to let some other things go. But my new role here is now I am the executive producer of all the programming here, and I am the head of programming. So I'm responsible for what shows we do and what goes into those shows. Dennis is the head of production. He's responsible for making sure those get done. So it's very much like what Dennis and I have always done together, and it's great. Christian is working with us very closely as well. So that's officially is my role here now. I'm the head of programming, the executive producer of all the programming. So that's what I do here now. Isaac Schmidt. What do you suspect you'd be doing if you weren't in the entertainment industry? I would be in sports talk radio. And I'm not being facetious. That's exactly where I would be. I would be in sports talk radio. David Trinian writes, if you never took that leap of faith to start the movie blog and ultimately do everything else, what would you be doing right now? Law or something else entirely? No, David, I just actually answered the same question. I would be doing sports talk radio, or I'd still be in law waiting to get into sports talk radio, but I'd probably be in sports talk radio. Tristan Durant is asking, will you ever do your podcast again? Yes, in the new year. Like I said, I've had a whole bunch of new responsibilities put on me. We've got a whole bunch of stuff going up on Collider here. Pretty soon we're going to be announcing in the next couple of days. I thought we were going to be able to announce a few things this week, but that got pushed off to next week. Big announcements coming. So I haven't been able to do my podcast, but I am going to get my podcast, the John Campea podcast, up and running again in early, probably January of 2017. Thanks for asking about it, and keep your eyes open. Andre Porter, episode 8 title announcement before the Oscars? I think so. Yeah, I think we'll get an episode 8 announcement before the end of February. Yes. John Mink, stuck on an island, you can pick one Collider crew member to be stuck with. Who do you choose and why? Probably John Schnepp, just because he can keep me entertained. I think that would be important, being stuck on a desert island. All right, Michael Tornabine writes, what is your dream vacation? I don't know. Tour Europe would probably be my dream vacation. Joshua Rodriguez, favorite rap album, 1984, Run DMC, Run DMC. It's like that, and that's the way it is. So that's my all-time favorite rap album. Tim McCaffrey, what's the biggest difference between living in Canada and in the USA? We wouldn't have voted in Trump. Anyway, there you go. Lowell Reynolds, how do you apply for an internship at a movie studio? No idea. I've never worked in a movie studio. Well, that's not exactly true. But I would have no idea how to do that, actually. Sion Hughes writes, after DC's done with CW shows, do you think WB will try to launch a new DC shows that are set in the DCEU? I hope not. I think crossing over the TV universe and the movie universe is fucking stupid. I think it's really, really stupid. I think the reason CW shows still exist and work is because their hands aren't tied because of the movie universe. Let the movie universe do what it wants to do and have all of its creative freedom without having to worry about the TV universe, and let the TV universe do whatever it wants to do with all of its creative freedom without worrying about the movie universe is doing. I think crossing them up is fucking stupid. That's always been my opinion. It's still my opinion. And there you go. Like, I'm sorry. Look at the Netflix shows, okay? Other than a few passing references, those Netflix shows have nothing to do with the movies. Like, whatsoever. They don't bother to try to have anything to do with the movies. Other than the fact that, hey, remember there was a battle in New York? And they drop some vague references here and there. But they know it's not good for the TV universe, the Netflix universe, to be too tightly connected to the movie universe. They do it smart. CW does it smart. That's the way it should be. That's just my opinion. You might have a different opinion, and that's cool. But my opinion is it's a terrible idea. Okay. Christopher Taylor. Who is your favorite American NHL club? That would be the Pittsburgh Penguins. Ever since going back in the day, Mario Lemieux was my man. He's like probably him and Mike Bossy are my all-time favorite hockey players. Then Sidney Crosby, who was born in the same city I was born in, is now the captain of the Pittsburgh Penguins. So the Pittsburgh Penguins are my favorite American NHL club. Charles Taylor, favorite difference between the USA and Canada, and least favorite. The weather in Canada is better. This is my opinion. Whatever. Stuart Fletcher, greatest UFC match you've ever seen. Probably to this day is the Stephen Bonner Forrest Griffin fight. I mean, that fight will go down in legend and history, and songs will be sung about it. There have been a lot of great fights, but that is probably still like the fight. Is Stephen Bonner, the American Psycho, and Forrest Griffin. If you have not seen that fight, figure out a way to watch it. It's the fight that made the UFC. Because they tell stories about how, UFC, some people were watching it, and as that fight went on into a second and third round, you could see the ratings go up and up and up because people were literally calling their friends and saying, if you're not watching this fight, you need to turn it on right now. It's the fight. So by all means, it made the UFC. It's not hyperbole to say, if it wasn't for that fight, the UFC would not be where it is today. It would still be a big sport and growing and all that kind of crap, but it would not be where it is today were it not for that fight. Josh Howard writes, which is a funnier show, South Park or Family Guy? At its best, South Park is, but South Park is hit and miss, right? Some episodes totally flat, some better than others. More consistently, I think Family Guy. Family Guy is consistently funny to me. That's just my opinion, while South Park has really big peaks, but a lot of times it just doesn't click and it doesn't work. Thomas Levesque writes, I think you, me, and pretty much everyone are looking forward to the big blockbuster next year. I don't know what it is. Corey Bratton writes, is your podcast coming back? I already mentioned that. Yeah, sometime in 2017, probably in January, it'll be back. Jared Heath writes, any words of encouragement you might have for anyone dealing with personal issues around the holidays, either financial, emotional, and or depression? Have you ever had to overcome something tough in life, and if so, what got you through it? Thanks and happy holidays. Yeah, I mean, look, the best times of year, because they're the best times of year, can be very difficult for other people. And I've been in difficult situations. You've been in difficult. We all have. One of my favorite moments of a movie is not even like one of my favorite movies of all time, but is it called Castaway, the Tom Hanks one where he's on the island with Wilson? Anyway, one of the last lines of the movie, and I might be not quoting it perfectly right, but basically he's telling a story about what got him through when he was on the island. And he was just like, just keep breathing. Just keep breathing, because you never know what the tide is going to bring in tomorrow. I've had some very, very tough times in my life when I realized, you know what? What I am in right now, I am not going to be in forever. Life changes. Tomorrow, something will happen. That's a little bit different. And the day after that, something will happen that's a little bit different. Just keep breathing, keep going. What you are in today, you know will not be forever. Life changes every single day. So no matter how great things are, don't expect them to stay great. But no matter how bad things are, they won't stay bad because life always changes. So that's what always got me through when I had tough times. Anyway, Jonathan Holt writes, who wins the battle of wits, Ellis or Knapsack? Oh, that's tight. Knapsack's a pretty smart dude. Zach Jarrett. I just admitted the whole time Rogue One is on, you'll be worried about someone spoiling the interim featherweight fight. Yeah, there's a big UFC tomorrow night, and I'm going to be at the Star Wars Rogue One premiere in Hollywood tomorrow night. So I'm going to be staying off Twitter and everything because I do not want that fight spoiled for me. Will Harloff Minor, Andy Newton, will Harloff Minor be mentioned in the next episodes? No, it won't. Jimmy, I hope, for Christian's sake, I hope they do, but there's no chance. Jimmy writes, what are your favorite classic and or foreign language films? All-time favorite foreign language film is Life is Beautiful, starring, I believe, written by and directed by Roberto Benigni. It is one of the most beautiful films I've ever seen in my life. If you have not seen Life is Beautiful, again by Roberto Benigni, check it out and make sure you do. That's my all-time favorite. Carmelo Perez, where does La La Land rate amongst Hollywood musical movies? I believe it'll win the Oscar for Best Picture. I love La La Land. I love it. And if I'm putting together the Oscar nomination list, La La Land gets nominated for Best Picture. For me, it doesn't win. To me, Hacksaw Ridge is still the best movie of the year. Now, there's still a few I haven't seen yet. But I have seen La La Land. And I still vote Hacksaw Ridge over that for movie of the year. That's just me. We'll see. Where's it rated among all-time Hollywood musicals? I don't know. Chicago's better. Moulin Rouge is better. That's just modern era. It's hard to say where it ranks in the all-time lists when it's just new. I've seen the movie once. Let's let it age a little bit, and then we'll start talking about where does it fit in the all-time musical list. Scott Curtis writes, 2017 looks like nonstop big movie openings. Any chance for a monthly preview of movies around last week of the month? Yeah, will we do movie previews for the following month? You know, that's not a bad idea. We've talked about something like that for Movie Talk. Maybe we'll do that. Keep your eyes open. It's not a bad idea. CJ Stevenson writes, what is your biggest criticism of millennials? A lack of reliance on facts. I'll just leave it at that. Brian writes, when you give someone a holiday greeting, do you say Merry Christmas or Happy Holidays? I say Merry Christmas. Brendan Krause writes, would the DCEU make more money if they were more kid-friendly? Parents couldn't take kids to BVS like they could Avengers. No, fuck that. No, they're fine. The problem was not with they weren't kid-friendly enough. The problem is they were not good enough. That's why. Deadpool was plenty R-rated. Couldn't take kids to that. And guess what? It made tons of money. They just need to make them better. I mean, I like them. I like Suicide Squad and I like Batman vs. Superman, but that's me. They weren't good enough to make a wider audience appreciate them. And that's their own fault. So, no. Is becoming more kid-friendly the answer? No. Making better movies is the answer. Let's see. Peyton writes, do you think we could see an Old Republic Star Wars TV show after Rebels ends? Animated? Maybe. Live action? I doubt it. I doubt it a whole bunch, actually. Let's see here. Stuart Fletcher writes, if you could have dinner with one celebrity, dead or alive, who would it be? Steven Spielberg. Easy. Kevin Campbell writes, what do you think about the Spider-Man Homecoming sequel getting a July 2019 release date? Is Sony rushing ahead a bit? Nah, Spider-Man is already a very proven property. It's not like there's never been a comic book movie before, that there's never been a Spider-Man movie before. Both Sony and Marvel know Spider-Man is a proven winner. Even when their movies were bad, they made money. So if they make them good, they know they're going to make tons of money. The public reacted very positively to the new Spider-Man in Civil War. So, they're not rushing ahead. I think it's perfectly fine. Christopher writes, what's your favorite toy as a child, and have you ever tried to find one display? Optimus Prime. And I come across one every now and again, but they're usually like $700. Frank Bono, you mentioned you had a big announcement this week. What was it? I meant to announce it this week, but we've been delayed. It will now the big announcements will probably come on Monday. It's about new programming we have. I'm very excited about it. I think you guys are going to love it. I thought we were going to be able to announce it today, but we've been delayed. The announcement will probably now be Monday. Keep your ears open for that. Kenny Crawl Jr., what do you think is missing from the DC Comics better stories? DC Comic Cinematic Universe, better storytelling. Josh DeMaio, a soccer fan, honestly, only during the World Cup. I bring up my Italian flag and I start waving my Italian flag around, but generally speaking, it's only during the World Cup. James DeZiel, just got approved to do a weekly movie talk style show on my college radio station. Any advice? Don't suck. That's it. Just speak from the heart, give your honest, actual opinions, and don't care what anybody thinks about them. That's my best advice. John DeGregorio writes, how do you think Ronda will do in her next match? Not well. Amanda Nunes is a buzzsaw, and I think Ronda Rousey at her best could beat her. Ronda Rousey looks broken to me. I think she's mentally broken. I don't think she's going to be able to stand up to Nunes. I hope she does, but I think Nunes wins that fight. Eric Williams, when was a time that you were the most fearful for your life? I was in Toronto. I was in a subway, and the subway broke down, and smoke started to fill the subway tunnel. The subway stopped because the power station at the next station blew and started a fire, and the tunnel started to fill with smoke. I was kind of afraid. Turns out we were in no danger at all, but for a few minutes, I was pretty damn worried. And when I had my heart attacks, that was pretty scary too. Hamza Norm, which cities have you traveled to in Canada? Pretty much all of them. I can't think of one of the major cities I haven't been to in Canada. Thoughts on American Ninja Warrior? I always get a big kick watching it when it's on TV. I don't go out of my way to watch it, but when I notice that it's on, I'll leave it on and I'll watch it. I get a big kick out of it. I think it's a lot of fun. Those people are amazing. Nathan Taylor, have you watched Westworld? And if so, what did you think about it? Yep, I just watched the season finale tonight. Meh. It has a couple of really great episodes, and I certainly like the season finale. I did. I like the finale a bit. But overall, I thought 6 of the episodes were throwaway, kind of boring. Like, I'm just being honest. I don't know that I'll watch season 2. I might, because the season finale was really good. But overall, I felt like I spent 10 and a half hours watching to get about 2 hours of really a solid 2 hours of entertainment. And I had to spend 10 hours to get it. Not a good trade-off for me. Eric Horn, favorite video game ever? It's a mix between Day of the Tentacle, X-Wing, and TIE Fighter, and World of Warcraft. Those are probably my all-time favorite video games. Jason, Adamson, will you go to an NFL game now that's back in LA? Hell yes, I will. Armando writes, how long have you been married? Ann and I have been 6 years. We're going on 6 years that we've been married. That Ann and I. Chad Polinia, do you think McGregor versus Mayweather will actually happen? Never in a million years. What's the point? If Mayweather got into an MMA cage with McGregor possibly murders him in 10 seconds. If McGregor gets into nothing but a limited rules of boxing match with Mayweather will knock him out in the first round. If Mayweather can knock anybody out anymore. But Mayweather easily wins in a pure boxing match, step into a cage, McGregor easily wins. What's the point of having a fight? It'll never happen. At least I don't think it will. I think it'd be pretty dumb if they ever did it. Armando asked, do you have kids? Nope, don't have kids yet. Probably going to wait another couple years till we start trying to have kids. Joseph Todd, when is the anniversary getting a modern digital or disc release? I don't think I ever want to spend the money. I mean, I made it. I originally released it for online rental. I made my money back. Great. I mean, look, the anniversary, for those of you who don't know, I made a little romantic comedy, R-rated romantic comedy called The Anniversary. It was made on a $0 budget. It was an extremely small budget. And I really made it because I was doing the movie blog at the time. I just wanted to appreciate more what directors and actors and all that kind of stuff, what they do. So I thought, what better way to appreciate what they do than doing it myself and giving it a shot. And I'm very proud of the movie. But I'm not delusional. For people who are used to watching Hollywood movies, compared to Hollywood movies, my movie's a piece of trash. It's totally garbage. For my friends who know me, sorry, a message is coming on my phone. For my friends who know me, I mean, they're very proud of me, and I'm very proud of it. For an average Joe kind of attempt at making a movie, I'm very proud of it. I love it. It means a lot to me. But I don't have delusions about it. Compared to real movies made by real studios and real professionals, my little movie, The Anniversary, is a piece of garbage. It is. And I'm still very proud of it. But now, I don't know if I'd ever want to put up the money to to give it an actual modern digital release, because, I mean, it was shot in 2K, but I don't even have a 2K version of it anymore. Now, the best version I have of it is a standard definition version. There's no point in it, but I'm really happy you remember The Anniversary. Thank you so much. Cowboys versus Seahawks. Who wins? If they're healthy, they're both healthy, Seahawks win. Jared Nicholas, when are you having kids? I just had that same question. Probably in a couple of years. Austin Johnson, favorite football, basketball, baseball, and hockey player. Football player, Tom Brady. Basketball player, LeBron James. Hockey player, Sidney Crosby. Joss Needle writes, outside of Spielberg, who is the director that you would most like to see take on a Star Wars movie? And if you've given any thought to it, what kind of Star Wars story would you want them to tell? Any talented director. There you go. Jon Favreau, I think, would make a very interesting director for a Star Wars anthology film. Bruno Stegman writes, is Doc Rivers a good coach or just an average coach due to the Clippers losing to bad teams last few weeks? Oh, look, no. There's no question about it. Doc Rivers is a great coach. He's not just a good coach, he's a great coach. But even the greatest of coaches don't win all the time. I mean, just because they've had a rough couple of weeks, now is Doc Rivers a good coach? Dumb question, dude. Doc Rivers is a legendary coach. He's, not Mount Rushmore of coaches, but he's a great coach. Jason asking, no more podcasts. Once again, podcast coming 2017. Let's see. Thomas writes, what's your advice for someone who wants to start a film career? Not necessarily acting, but producing and directing. Do it. Grab a video camera, grab some friends, and just start making movies. Just do it. Nothing's stopping you. Don't wait for somebody to give you a paycheck to do it. Just start doing it. That is the best single piece of advice I can give. There's a ton of other things you got to do, but the single thing, just get started. Just grab a video camera, grab some friends, point the video camera at your friends, and say action, and then after a little while, say cut. That's the best way to get started. Ben Burnside writes, what do you think of Pettis Holloway being off? Are you going to order the Toronto pay-per-view? Wait, I didn't know the Pettis Holloway fight was off. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? I haven't heard that. So I'll have to look that up in a second. Lorenzo writes, what do you think about Grimm coming to an end after the season? I really enjoy the show, Grimm. It feels like it's run its course. I feel like this is probably a good time to end it. I feel like they've done their story. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know where they're even going to go with this season. I feel like they've gone as far as they can go. It was a really entertaining show. I enjoyed it very much. I'm going to grab a Halls. But yeah, in my opinion, I think the show's run its course, so it's time to go. Let's see here. Brendan Krause writes, after Arrival, will Hollywood mine more Ted Channing stories? The author of Arrival. I mean, I don't know. Look, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Arrival has made over $100 million, and that's great. But, we're calling Warcraft a bomb, and Warcraft made $400 million. So, let's not all get ahead of ourselves by proclaiming Arrival as some massive hit. It's not. It's done well. It's done well. Made over $100 million. That's great. But it's not like it's made like $500 million worldwide. It hasn't. So I don't know that this modest success will change things much. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. Hiram writes, how can an editor work at a trailer house or company that makes movie trailers in general? Become a great editor and submit your resume. It's like any other job. Jesse, do you enjoy the Arrowverse crossover last week? Yeah, I like the crossover enough. Arrow is still a show that's gone to complete crap, despite the fact that it's got Stephen Amell, who I think is a very bright light and a big talent. But the writers have destroyed that show, in my personal opinion. Marcel Deschalise writes McGregor versus, Triple G. What do you think? Meh. Stuart Fletcher, live in Canada versus U.S. pros cons. Kind of already went through that. Corey writes Hoist Gracie versus JSP. I don't know who JSP is. If you mean George St. Pierre, like GSP, George easily wins that fight. It's a different era. Hoist comes from an era before people knew how to fight. And he's the one who taught the world how to fight. There is no MMA if it wasn't for Hoist Gracie and the Gracie family. But Hoist Gracie in his prime versus GSP. GSP is a new breed of fighter. It's not close. GSP wins that fight. Let's see. What food do you miss from home most? My grandmother's cooking. Steve, how do you get so goddamn sexy? Partially has to do with being Italian. Scott writes, how's Ronda Rousey's return going to go in UFC? Not well. I don't think it's going to go. Anyway, guys, that is... How many questions was that? That was, I think 80-something questions. All right, I'm going to call it. It's been a half hour. I'm going to call it. There was like 200 more questions on there, but I'm just going to let those go. Thanks. Let me know if you want me to do more of these. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you.